Thanksgiving Day, 1940, a luxury hotel in Manhattan. A single gunshot echoes from the bathroom. When police arrived, they find a 63-year-old man dead. In his pocket, a suicide note repeating one phrase: "My life has been a failure, a big failure." This man once held more cash than most of the American banks. He profited from America's darkest economic hours. Millions call him a traitor, but Wall Street called him a genius. His name was Jesse Livermore, and this is the story of how he made the greatest fortune in trading history and then lost everything, including his mind. October 29, 1929, Black Tuesday, the worst day in American financial history. 16 million shares traded in panic. The Dow Jones dropped 25% in 2 days. Families watched their life savings vanish. Millionaires become paupers overnight. But one man was smiling. Jesse Livermore was betting against America, what traders call shorting the market. While everyone else bought stocks hoping prices would rise, Jesse sold stocks he didn't own, betting prices would fall. By the time the smoke cleared, Jesse had made over $100 million. In today's money, about $1.4 billion. It was possibly the biggest single profit any trader had ever made. Jesse drove home that night in his Rolls Royce to his massive estate called Evermore. His wife and children were terrified, thinking they would lost everything like everyone else. Instead, Jesse told them they were among the richest family in America, but this victory would haunt him forever. Americans needed someone to blame for their suffering. They chose the man who got rich while they became poor. Death threats flooded his mansion. He hired armed guards to protect his family. Newspaper called him the Great Bear of Wall Street, and not in a nice way. But how did Jesse see what nobody else saw? By 1929, America was drunk on easy money. The stock market had risen 5 times in just 6 years. Everyone was borrowing money to buy stocks. Even taxi drivers and barbers were giving stock tips. Total margin loans reached $1.5 billion, more than all the physical currency in the America. Jesse's private research network of 60 analysts was sending him alarming signals. Interest rates were rising in London. Leading British bankers were being arrested for fraud. Stock prices has no connection to the company profit anymore. Investment office. But the clearest signal came from something Jesse always watched: the leading stocks in a healthy bull market. The strongest stocks lead to the way up. But Jesse noticed these leaders were slowing down. They were not making new heights anymore. This was a red flag. Jesse started small, testing the waters with short positions. He lost $250,000 on these test trades. Most traders would have given up. But Jesse understood something crucial: something you lose money being early. But that doesn't mean you're wrong. When his analysis proved correct, he bet everything. He shorted the market heavily just before it collapsed. It was the perfect trade at the perfect time. But perfect timing in the market doesn't mean perfect timing in the life. And this was not Jesse's first fortune or his first bankruptcy. Jesse's entire life followed a brutal pattern: make millions, lose millions, repeat again and again. He declared bankruptcy 4 different times. Each time he crawled his way back. In 1906, he correctly predicted San Francisco earthquake would crash the market. He made $250,000 in one day. 2 years earlier, all gone. Lost to bad trades and crooked partners. Why did this keep happening to someone so brilliant? Jesse knew exactly why. He broke his own rules. There's a famous story about cotton that reveals everything. Jesse studied cotton prices for months. His analysis showed that if cotton hit 12.5 cents per pound, it would shot much higher. All he had to do was wait for that signal. But Jesse couldn't wait. He was too excited. He jumped in early and lost $200,000 in cash. Worse, he missed out on $1 million in profit. The market eventually did exactly what he predicted. Cotton prices exploded 500 points higher. But Jesse was not in the trade anymore. He'd gotten frustrated and quit. Jesse got so angry watching cotton prices that he ordered the cotton trigger removed from his office. 2 days after he stopped watching, cotton skyrocketed. He called this his great lesson in patience, but he never truly learned it. But where did this cycle of brilliance and destruction begin? 1891. A 14-year-old farm boy named Jesse Livermore ran away from home with $5 in his pocket. His father wanted him to be a farmer like him. Jesse hated from work, but his mother, Laura, noticed something special in him. Her son could do complex math in his head instantly. He saw patterns and numbers that others couldn't see. The school headmaster told Laura that Jesse's gift being wasted on the farm. So one morning, Laura stuffed $5 into Jesse's pocket and told him to go to Boston. Use your mind, not your hands. She had no idea she was unleashing one of the most brilliant and destructive forces Wall Street would ever see. Jesse got hired as a board boy at a Boston rockage farm. His job was simple: write stock prices on a big board of customers. But while writing these numbers, hour after hour, Jesse's mathematical mind started working. He began seeing patterns in how prices move: up, down, but not randomly. These were rhythms, trends, signals hidden in the numbers. Within months, 14-year-old Jesse discovered he could predict where prices go next. By the age 16, he would save enough to make his first real trade. He bet on Burlington stock and won. But for Jesse, winning was not about the money. It was about proving he was smarter than everyone else. This need to prove himself would become his addiction. Jesse developed strong beliefs about trading. He said a good trader should only make 4 to 5 trades per year, not per day, not per week, but per year. He believed in waiting patiently for what he called the fat pitch, the rare high probability opportunity. When it comes, you load it up and bet big. His most famous quote: "It never was my thinking that made me the big money, it was my sitting." Meaning the hardest part of the trading is doing nothing, just waiting. He also preached that you should only trade when the market is clearly trending up or down. Never trade in choppy, confused markets. Cut losses quickly, let winners run. These rules were brilliant. Traders still study them. But here's the tragedy: Jesse constantly broke his own rules. That cotton story I told you, that was Jesse being impatient, trading when he should have been sitting. He admitted this openly. He said there are only two reasons traders failed. First, not having clear rules. Second, not following the rules you do have. Jesse did both. He was smart enough to know what to do, but too addicted to the action to actually do it. This gap between knowledge and behavior would eventually destroy him. In the mid 1920s, Jesse built something unprecedented: a private global intelligence network. He employed 60 full time researchers, analysts, and statisticians. They fed him constant information about everything that could affect stock prices: crop reports from Argentina, political development in Europe, banking movement in London. His telephone bill alone was $15,000, equals to $200,000 today. He made daily international calls to contact in London, Paris, and Berlin. Jesse transformed trading from art into science, from guessing into data driven decision making. But this obsession consumed him. He spent 18 hours a day in his office, studying charts and taking calls. The world outside his office ceased to exist, including his family. Jesse married a Broadway dancer named Dotsy in 1918. She was spontaneous, social, full of life. Everything Jesse was not. At first, he showered her with attention and gifts. He bought the magnificent Evermore estate for her. But after the honeymoon phase ended, Jesse disappeared into his work. Dotsy raised their two sons essentially alone. Jesse barely knew his own children. He was too busy conquering the market. And there was the mistress. Many mistresses, when Dotsy discovered his affairs, she was devastated. She turned to alcohol for comfort. By evening, she would often drink herself unconscious. The beautiful Evermore estate became a prison of retirement and broken promise. The breaking point in 1932, Jesse and Dotsy divorced in a bitter public battle. Within 1 hour of the divorce being finalized, Dotsy remarried. She took their sons and moved to California. Jesse was left alone in his massive mansion, surrounded by wealth but isolated from human connection. Then came 1935, the event that truly broke Jesse. His eldest son, Jesse Jr., was accidentally shot by his mother during a drunken argument at his California home. The boy survived, but barely. This shattered Jesse's soul. It destroyed his faith in the ability to protect the people he loved. If he couldn't even keep his son safe, what was the point of all his money and success? Around the same time, Jesse's trading magic disappeared. After the 1929 crash, America changed the rule. The government created SEC to regulate markets, banks. Banks were split up, inside information was banned. The wild, unregulated market that Jesse understood was gone forever. It was replaced by the structured institutional system. Jesse couldn't adapt. Every trade seemed to go against him. The patterns he used to see clearly were now murky. By 1934, he had lost nearly all of his $100 million fortune. He was facing bankruptcy for the fourth time in his life. He tried to climb back. He married again. But the same pattern repeated: obsession with trading, neglect of family, infidelity, failed trades, mounting debts. By November 1940, Jesse was exhausted, 63-year-old and completely worn out. He had made all lost three complete fortunes in his lifetime. He had been one of the richest men in America. Now he was facing poverty again. His marriages has failed. His relationship with his son was broken. One son has nearly died because of his mother's drinking problem, a problem that started because of Jesse's infidelity. The guilt at him, the market that he had conquered, no longer made sense to him. He felt like a failure. On Thanksgiving Day, Jesse walked into Sherry Netherland Hotel. He ordered a couple of drinks. Then he walked to the men's room and pulled the trigger. And the note police found in his pocket was heartbreaking. I'm tired of fighting. I'm a failure. The same phrases repeated over and over. How could someone who made $100 million in a single week feel like a complete failure? How could the greatest trader in Wall Street history die believing he was worthless? Because money doesn't fill the emptiness inside. Success in markets doesn't equal success in life. You can win every trade and still lose. Everything that matters, Jesse conquered. The stock market multiple times, but he never conquered himself. Today, nearly 85 years after his death, traders worldwide still study Jesse Livermore. His rules about patience, discipline, and trend following are still taught. His greatest trades are still analyzed. Books are written about him. Videos dissect his methods. But why? Because he was genuinely brilliant. His ability to see market patterns was extraordinary. His prediction of 1929 crash was legendary. But his legacy is also a warning, a reminder that knowledge without discipline is worthless. The obsession that breaking your own rules will destroy you. That obsession has terrible price. That you can be smart person in the room and still end up with nothing. Jesse's tragedy teaches us something crucial. There's a difference between being smart and being wise. Being smart means you can predict the market, but being wise means you know when to stop. Jesse was incredibly smart, but he was never wise. He couldn't see that his addiction to trading was destroying his life. He couldn't understand that making money is not the same as making a life. He couldn't stop himself from breaking the rules he knew he should follow. And in the end, his gap between intelligence and wisdom killed him. So here's the question Jesse's life asks us, what's the point of winning if you lose yourself in the process? What's the point of making $100 million if you end up alone in a hotel bathroom with a gun? What's the point of being the greatest trader in history if you die believing you are a failure? These are not just questions for traders, they are questions for anyone who's ever gotten obsessed with success, money, or proving they are smarter than everyone else. Jesse Livermore crippled himself far more than he crippled America. His greatest enemy was not the market, it was not the SEC or the new regulations, it was himself. His inability to follow his own wisdom, his addiction to the actions when he should have been patient, his obsession with trading that destroyed his family, his need to prove himself that he was never satisfied, no matter how much money he made. Remember the boy who ran away from farm with just $5. Remember the man who made $100 million in a week. Remember the note that said, "My life has been a failure." And ask yourself, in your pursuit of success, are you building something or destroying yourself? Drop a comment below with your thoughts. Subscribe for more stories about hidden figures who shaped financial history. Hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.